So we Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Nahmaduhu wa nusalli wa nusallimu ala rasulihil kareem, amma ba'd. We were doing the Hajj and the aspects related to it. So 8 wajibat, eight requirements. So remember, when it is wajib means that your action is accepted with the condition that you compensate by extra penalty, whatever penalty you have. That could be whatever penalty you have. So for example, in prayer, if you miss out a wajib, you have to do sajda sahwi. Yes. And in Hajj, there are certain things where you would need to pay a penalty in the form of a dam. We call dam. Dam means blood, which is slaughtering a sheep or one part in camel or cow. Okay, so that is one, but there could be less than that. Jinaya penalty. We'll cover that at some point. So wajib is something that you have to do it. By all practical purposes, is a must. But unlike fard, if you skip fard, you cannot mend it. There's no way you can compensate by doing something. You have to do that action regardless. And what are the 2 fara'id we talk about in Hajj? One is standing in Arafah, the day of Arafah, standing there, even if for a second. That is why you would see ambulance coming through. So from the hospital, the patients who have gone there for Hajj, and they were there in Hajj and they were taken ill. So they're in hospital. What would happen? On Arafah day, they will be taken in queues, in ambulance, at some point when it's quiet, and they will just go from this end of Arafah, come out from the other end. So they have been in Arafah for that limited time. That's enough. Their Hajj is done. Obviously, they have to compensate for not being there throughout the time by doing some dam. That's a different matter. We tackle that. So the fard is done. Fard has to be done, unless you obviously you don't have to do it afterwards. Your Hajj would not be considered done. The fard is that you have to do that action and pay the penalty if there was any. Wajib, you don't have to do that action, but you have to pay the penalty. See the difference? So this is why they're different. The second Hajj fard was, what is the second Hajj? What is the second fard of Hajj? Tawaful Ifada. Tawaful Ifada. Tawaful Ziyarah. It's called Tawaful Ziyarah or Tawaful Ifada. 7 circuits around Kaaba, circumambulation around Kaaba, 7 times after the Arafah. After 10th, which is the 10th day or 11th day or 12th, Asr of 12th, up to the Maghrib, before the day ends, which is Maghrib. So that's what you have to do. Okay, so those 2 are fara'id. So standing in Muzdalifah. We cover how we do all those steps at some other point, but today just look at those wajibat. Wajibat are essential integral parts which we have to do. So standing in Muzdalifah after the Arafah day, that night after Maghrib to next morning, you must be staying in the plain of Arafah. If you have an excuse, weak, elderly people, many of them sick. If they didn't, then they have to pay the penalty. But you have to be there in Muzdalifah. That's an open ground. You're still there. And you combine 2 prayers there. You know, has anyone performed Hajj recently? Yeah, you've done that. And obviously you can't remember everything, but some of the stuff must be clear to you, you were with us here. So just quickly, so Hajj 5 days, okay? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 13 is optional. So leave that. 5 are must. These are the 5 days of Hajj. Hajj days are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 8, when you just call your tarwiyah, when you just wake up first thing in the morning before Fajr, get ready. After Fajr prayer in Makkah, leave for Mina. Spend your next 5 prayers in Mina, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, and Fajr of the next day, which is 9th now. So that's the tarwiyah, Mina day. Next day in the 10th. Next day you go to Arafah, which is 9th, Arafah day, and you stay there from Dhuhr, just before Dhuhr, you reach, and then stay there from Dhuhr to Maghrib, Asr to Maghrib. So Dhuhr and Asr you pray together at the earlier time if you're praying behind Imam, otherwise you do on this time, and then you just do your dhikr tasbihat, and as soon as sun sets, you just leave for Muzdalifah. Now this is staying there for Maghrib time. You have to not pray. You can't pray your Maghrib there. You have to let it go. and you don't pray, and you actually let it doesn't become qada. But you can't pray. You are not supposed to pray. The hikmah will talk about that at some point. You carry on, carry on, carry on. You come to Muzdalifah and you pray at Isha time, when Isha time hits, as technically you make your Maghrib qada. By the command of Allah and Rasulullah. Amazing, isn't that? What does that tell you? It is not about being very, descriptive or detail of everything I must stick to, literally. It is about how Allah says, or how Rasulullah said. That's it. Why is this and why is that? There's very little room or scope for that. This is what Allah is telling us. Why? No, not why. Who said it? Allah said it. Rasulullah, that's it. Sami'na wa ata'na. We listen and we agree. We accept. And there's no difference of opinion, by the way. This is agreed upon stuff. There are very few things which are agreed upon, by the way. There are a lot in Fara'id, a lot of stuff. But this is one of those. You can't pray. You have to pray your Maghrib at Isha time. So this is what it means to combine pray Maghrib and then Isha in Muzdalifah. Second wajib is sa'i between Safa and Marwah. Okay. After the Hajj, you have to do one sa'i of Hajj as well, which is going between Safa and Marwah 7 times. And we will talk about all that later on. Then third is Tamaraat, stoning, pelting the columns. Okay. By the way, they're not shaitan. People call them shaitan and they use their stick and their slippers and everything they get hold of, throw at the shaitan. This is no shaitan. Shaitan is standing there looking at you and smiling, saying, how silly. I'm standing there, still insinuating them to commit the sin on this blessed day. That is why the description is, how do we do the stoning? Hold the pebble, which is about a chickpea size, between your tip of the finger and thumb, and raise your hand so that your whiteness of the armpit could be seen that high, and throw gently like this. Do you think you can smack something with that or smash the column? No, obviously not. This is symbolical. This is just iconic. This is just telling you, oh shaitan, your whispers and your insinuations are such of a weak character or level or strength that I can show it like this. For me, it is just doing this and you are gone out of my sight. And shaitan gets very upset by that. He would rather that you punch him, literally do something. It's like, if I say, I can only kill you by touching. Isn't that denigrating, disrespecting? This is, so the injury to the insult to the injury. Yeah, you actually cause them more insult rather than the injury. So understand that. It will never be just jazbati and aggressive. Aage shaitan ko marne ke liye joote chappal lekar. Don't do that. It's not shaitan. This shaitan is not there. Shaitan did that act of insinuation and whispering, Ibrahim alayhi salam and Hajar and Ismail, and he's not there anymore. He just moved out. Okay. So Tamaraat, we have to do that. How we detail will inshallah come. Third is Tawaf al-Sadr or Tawaf al-Wada. Tawaf al-Wada, farewell pilgrimage, that you farewell Tawaf, circumambulation, which is right at the end, and you finish off with that. And that's wajib as well. Cut and shave or trim your hair, that's wajib as well. One of the beautiful things about that is shaving is much better than trimming. Most people would shy away from shaving. Rasulullah made dua for those who shave 3 times. May Allah have mercy upon those who shave their head. Ameen. And this is what Rasulullah said. And Sahaba, and there's some who has already trimmed and they couldn't shave. And the Rasulullah, what about those who trimmed? May Allah have mercy upon those who shaved. Ya Rasulullah, what about those who had their hairs trimmed? May Allah have mercy upon those who shaved. And finally, 4th time he said, and to those who trimmed as well, which means they get much more reward. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it in Quran, muhalliqina ru'usakum wa muqassirin. And you will shave you would go to perform your umrah, and you'll be shaving your head, and you would then be also trimming. Some of you will be trimming as well. So which means that don't worry about your looks. You can't look better if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't consider you to be better. So if there's excuse, there's a valid reason, that's a different matter. You go interview next day after performing your Hajj, is a different matter. You don't want to look quite bold. Although you are bold, but it's a fashion anyway, not a problem these days. So yeah, people used to shy away from, oh, I can't shave my hair. Like, I look a bit odd. And they always feel that my head is not round enough to be shaven. And people will mock me. Maybe there's a reason, but generally, it's not haram to not shave, by the way, but it is preferred, and you get more reward. Obviously, you have to adopt your ihram before miqat, and we'll cover that. And you can't cover your face or head. For male and for female, they can't cover their face, but they have to cover their head. And having no staged clothing. Staged clothing means any clothing which is staged in a bodily shape. A glove, a cap, coat, trousers, thawb, shirt, whatever, undergarments, any body shape based on the shape. But if I have this sheet and I just wrap it around my head, I'm feeling cold, that's perfectly fine. Around as a shawl, I can use it as a shawl, that's perfectly fine. I'm feeling cold. I don't know who this is. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. But not in the body shape. So this is okay. Or if I use my coat and tie it around my waist, I feel cold and I put it like this. That's okay. Okay. Or isn't it? It's just telling that I'm in my shroud, as if I'm seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Actually should be naked. That is why the people in Makkah, pagan time, they used to perform Hajj naked, thinking that is the way. But since being naked is haram, so you can't do a haram to get more nearness. As if you're saying that, you know what, I have nothing. I'm here at your mercy, Ya Allah. I'm completely destitute. I'm faqir, I'm muhtaj. So showing that neediness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But obviously, there's a limit. And that is the beauty of Islam, where it puts everything in perspective. On one hand, you do that, but you have to just keep everything within the limits. And then Sunnah. Let's leave that, inshallah ta'ala, because that would take a lot more time. Okay, let's do Sunnah, see the next couple of minutes. So Sunnah, taking major ghusl. Ghusl is Sunnah for anyone and everyone, regardless. Even if you've taken shower last night, you want to just take Sunnah for the intention of performing Hajj or Umrah is on its own, ghusl is a Sunnah, yeah. And having two sheets for male, izar, which is wrapping at the waist, and rida, which is top part, shawl. And saying talbiyah as many times. Once it is, you have to say that coming in the state of ihram, which is wajib, it includes talbiyah once after the intention, after the niyyah. But we'll cover that separately. Here it is sunnah. Sunnah is to say talbiyah as many times as possible. And this would clarify the point many people raise. What's the point of keep reading Quran without understanding? You tell me, what is the point in Hajj of saying, Labbaik Allahumma labbaik? You're already there. Oh Allah, I'm present. Yes, you're present. So why keep saying, Ya Allah, I'm present here? You keep saying that all the time, up, down, here, left, right, wherever you go. Every time you go up or down, you just say, Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. You see new group, Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik, 3 times minimum. It's a good way of doing it, mustahab. And you just, what time until? From 8, of Fajr of 8 till you have stoned the first time. Till that time you continue to. You are in Arafah saying Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. What are you doing? You're already there, man. What does that mean? Many a time saying the things multiple times without thinking about the meaning. Internalize it. Make it much more of your second nature, as they say. Then you start meaning it. When your body, and you by the way, our souls and people around us, when I say people, doesn't mean human being only, jinns, angels, other creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all those creations, they all understand Arabic better than ourselves, perhaps. That's my intuition. Might be wrong, but I feel that That is why they will all become our testimony. That is how everything around us would become our testimony, testifying for the fact that, Ya Allah, he did the good thing. That is why when you go to perform Eid, you go from one angle, one direction, you come back from the other side, keep reciting Labbaik, Allahumma Labbaik, showing it publicly that we are Alhamdulillah here, but also getting more witnesses from the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah says in the Quran, everything in the heaven and earth, do the tasbih of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yusabbihu lillahi ma fi samawati wa sabbaha lillahi ma fi samawati wa everything. وَلَكِنْ لَا تَفْقَهُونَ تَسْبِيحَهُمْ. But you don't understand that tasbih, Allah says. You don't understand, that's fine, but they do. And now we know even this fiber, everything has some life in them at atomic level. Electron, micron, proton, and neutron, they're just jumping up and down, doing some action. And Quran says that everything is, so then including them. They must be thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, must be doing tasbih of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you're making a lot of witnesses. And when you keep reciting, this is the, you know, when you love someone, you just want to keep saying their words, their statements. And not every time you need to know the meaning. Sometimes, even if you don't, it is just because it has come from my beloved. This is word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه لمن الملك اليوم. Even if you don't understand the meaning, it has so much profound effect. That is why there's a lot of emphasis on reading and recitation of Quran, and then understanding as well, obviously. So not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that understanding is very important. That's the sole purpose. Main purpose is to understand and practice. But there's a lot more connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that comes with keep mentioning the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, keep reciting the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is why you keep doing talbiyah, because talbiyah is so beautiful. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wal ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. Okay, so that's a beautiful thing. And Tawaf al-Qudum, there are three types of Tawaf: obligatory for Tawaf, Tawaf Ifrad, which we just mentioned, and there's Tawaf which is wajib, which is Tawaf al-Wada, Tawaf al-Sadr, same thing. And the Tawaf al-Qudum is the Tawaf when you do on arrival. According to Hanafi school, Tawaf al-Qudum is not wajib or fard, which is extra Tawaf as soon as you enter Haram. You just do that, even if you don't intend. So you've done your 8th morning ghusl and everything, pray your Fajr, and then you do a Tawaf. If you wanted to do that, that's fine. It's mustahab as you enter Haram. But many times we do Tawaf for Umrah anyway. So that's on entrance to the holy sanctuary. So when you enter Haram, you just do that. But that becomes a separate thing. But certain Imams would consider, Imam Shafi, for example, would consider Rahmatullah alayhi, Tawaf al-Qudum to be part of the Hajj. You have to do that as a wajib. Imam Ahmad would have similar stance. So, but in Hanafi school, it is sunnah. MashaAllah, all beautiful. We all do many Tawaf anyway. So it's just like knowing the nuanced terms and things. And then saying Durood upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam after talbiyah and after performing all the different things that we do and making dua, tasbih, tahleel, and other things, they're all sunnah. And voluntary Tawaf as much as possible. And leave Makkah for Mina after sunrise on 8th of Dhul Hijjah to spend the night there, which is sunnah as well. Spend the night in Mina, in the days of Mina. This is sunnah in Hanafi school, but don't take that to practice. Sunnah means so we should act upon it. What I mean by don't take it to your practice of not doing it, thinking that this is not wajib. Okay, many people nowadays, because they say, we're so tired, we thought we spent our night in our hotel, the air conditioner on, and we can rest better rather than in the tent in Mina. Very bad. Why are you here in Haram for 5 days? To do what? To come close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you're leaving all the sunnahs there. And especially this sunnah, which is according to other imams, is a wajib. Not at all, not on. That's that's quite offensive. If you did not have a reason, yeah, if you're unwell, sick, whatever, that's a different matter. Don't do that. Very bad, very bad. If you can't even control your desire there when you don't have anything else to do in those 5 days, then you expect that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would give us too much. Subhanallah. Very bad. Yes, but it is sunnah. So the beauty of knowing this is, if you're really struggling, you got unwell, and I say to you in my group, no, you are not coming back to the tent. You stay in hotel and you have that tablet at that time and stay there. Then you do not feel upset about that. You know that there's a reason, inshallah ta'ala. I'm not missing out anything which is wajib, and I've been given this dispensation for a reason, inshallah ta'ala. There must be blessing in it. I would continue to remorse and regret that I couldn't do it, and I'll feel that I would do some dua by lying in the bed, and inshallah ta'ala you will get a lot more reward, inshallah ta'ala, that way. So it doesn't upset you, because there's time for things, inshallah ta'ala. And likewise, having a lot of zamzam, putting some on your head as well, that's beauty. We cover all that in detail when we do the steps, inshallah ta'ala. And then holding on to multazam. What is multazam, by the way? Which part is multazam? Which part is multazam? Many people don't get it right. Which place? When the door is? Actually, not where the door is. Most people think that's where the door is. Not the door. Door is not multazam. Multazam is the space.
Don't do that anymore.
I know, it's difficult. But to be honest, many a time you can try and you may find a way. So between the Hajar Aswad and the door, that space is multazam. Not the door per se. So many people think, oh, it's actually the door. The gate is different. This is the gate and this is Hajar Aswad. In between that space, that is called multazam. Multazam means where you just throw yourself to attach yourself. So multazam means where you get attached to. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would just go and attach himself and would rub it as you're in your mother's lap and you cry. And that's a beautiful place to be if anyone gets a chance, inshallah ta'ala. Leave that, inshallah, that's too much. We will cover mawaqid, which is wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi.